So maybe you can help us better understand, Ms. Puglierin, about exactly what are the latest developments and also the official stance coming from the Chancellor's office, for now at least.
Well, first of all, I have to say that at the very beginning of the refugee crisis, the German public was great. I mean, we had a welcome culture that was very impressive and that was unprecedented in Germany. Now, and for quite some time already, but now with the assaults in Cologne, the situation in Germany changes. The atmosphere is very tense, the debates are heated, and people start questioning Angela Merkel's refugee policy recently, and even in the middle of the society, not in the right-wing sector, but in the middle of the society, people they don't trust in Angela Merkel that much anymore.
What do you make then, Ms. Puglierin, of this almost roller coaster of events and emotions toward the migrants coming from Syria and some of the other countries? Are we seeing the end of it? This is going to be the emotion with us for a long time, or actually as events evolve, the emotion is going to change again and the policy line is going to change again?
Well, what we see at the moment is a heated debate in the German public, but the welcoming culture is going on. A lot of people are still helping the refugees. They are with them day and night, and they do their very best, and that continues that effort. But at the same time, people start to be suspicious. They are skeptical. But it's just, I think it's very important to put things into perspective here, because it has been not just one attack, several attacks in different cities in Germany, but still, I mean, 1 million refugees entered Germany in 2015, and probably a few hundred of them, if even, they are involved into these assaults. So we should keep things into perspective and not blame all the refugees for what's going on in Cologne right now.
Well, I guess for a sensible debate, we should
I think
keep
the Chancellor tries to calm down.
We need to put things into perspective in order to have a sensible debate. But on the other hand, people can be quite emotional when you have more than 1.1 million refugees and migrants coming into the country in 1 year alone. And therefore, I would like to go to you, Mr. Pascouau, about your views, because earlier we heard about the New Year's Eve sexual assault. At the time, immigrants and migrants were being suspected. And later, on Sunday, the past Sunday, we've also heard some Syrians and also Pakistanis were attacked. We do not know exactly who attacked them, but it seems that people's emotions went with the nature of these assaults, which exactly the police have not given the final say yet. So, Mr. Pascouau, what do you make of these, once again, roller coaster emotions? And how do you think policies inside your neighboring country, Germany, is likely to change as a result of that?
Well, we can imagine that the situation in Germany today is going to have several effects. It has been underlined just a few minutes ago that it is going to have an impact on the German citizens and their support to the refugees, and I think that they have been extremely supportive, but they will continue to do so. There is going to be another impact on German policies, on one hand because Germany is going to change the rules and make them stricter, and on the other hand because the situation is going to be used or exploited by extreme rights parties. And finally, there is going to be also an impact at European level, not only from member states which are opposed to the welcoming policy which has been developed by Germany, and I'm referring here to Poland, Czech Republic and Slovakia. These member states are going to put pressure on the policy which has been developed over the few last weeks and months at EU level in order to continue opposing to these policies. And later on, this is also, I think, going to have an impact on the further rules which have to be negotiated in the next couple of weeks or months. So I think that we may face a turning point. This is not an ending point. This is a new situation which is coming up. We have to deal with that. And I think that what has been mentioned before is absolutely true. There is 1.1 million Syrian and other refugees in Germany. The incidents which occurred on the 30th of December is the phase, or because it's due to several people. And due to this situation, it is clear that this is extremely emotional, but we have to take into account that many of the people arrived in Germany are in need of protection, and that Germany has decided to grant them the protection they need.
Very interesting what's happening over there, also challenging, shall we say, that probably the word to use. Professor Wang, on the one hand, do you think the German government, together with some of its European counterparts, be able to make sure those, whether they are migrants or not, commit crimes, will be punished severely? The migrants will be sent back. On the other hand, will they be also capable to convince the society, including some critical of it, to provide welfare as they promised, and also, quote unquote, equal treatment to the migrants? We are talking about a country which is pretty much divided at this moment.
Well, in principle, I trust the rule of law in Germany and in Europe, but now it's more difficult to manage and to pick a balance because so many migrants, even illegal migrants. I think this situation happened in many countries, particularly the evil of year, but because it's happened because of the migrants, so the victims. I think that Chancellor Merkel do not want to make this as an excuse to attack the migrants and her policy. It's very sensitive. I think Germany and Europe need to stay open to the world. At the same time, I think, of course, the one tighten the security scrutiny of the migrants to keep the balance is difficult for. It's challenging for.
It is very difficult. Let me come back to you, Mr. Puglierin. On the one hand, in the city of Leipzig, for example, you got organizations which is called the Pegida, if I pronounce their name right, totally against Islam and some of the Islamic migrants. On the other hand, you also have people coming onto the street against that specific organization who is prejudicial against the Islamic migrants. You see much more sharp contrast of opinions happening on the street. What would that mean for the German society? Will that lead to very different political fronts inside your country? And what would that mean for your country in that aspect? Ms. Puglierin.
Well, first of all, we have to deal with the two new phenomena you just mentioned. The first one is Pegida, that's people marching on the streets protesting against the Islamization of Europe. And then we have a new political party called Alternative für Deutschland, Alternative for Germany, and both aim at limiting or ending the flow of refugees coming into Germany. And in the beginning, these have been more or less right-wingers, people who were disappointed by Angela Merkel, as well like ex-CDU members. But now both movements more and more become extreme, but they also become attractive to to a greater majority of Germans, because the quite a majority of the German population still supports Chancellor Merkel. I think that's my personal observation. But people now, they fear that our values are at stake here. I mean, that the equality of men and women, the relationship between religion and state, or the separation between religion and state, and people fear that their values are at stake here and that they lose their identity, their cultural identity, and that's what they fear. And so they are much more ready to to protest or to vote for parties on the extreme ends of the political spectrum. And that's a danger, and we have to deal with that in Germany.
Mr. Pascouau, this also led us to another question. It is not in France, it's not in Greece, but it's in Germany. Once it's in Germany, the debate about the racial issues, religious issues can become very, very controversial given what happened in the past of Germany's recent modern history. So, Ms. Pascouau, how do you see Germans are trying to shape this debate with what happened in their history? And how do you think this history would also shape what is going on right now when it comes to this social debate, and what the policies might be for Angela Merkel, the chancellor, who is now becoming ever more controversial?
Well, I think that, as it has been said before, we have to keep in mind that the German population remains in favor of welcoming migrants and people in need of protection.
When you say this, Mr. Pascouau, I want to make sure that we understand things right. Do you have a specific number to indicate that the majority of the German population, as you said, are supporting the migrants, or is your personal opinion those are very different things?
Well, I'm going to turn it another way around and to say, for instance, that the extreme right parties in Germany are not scoring very high into the different elections, which is extremely different from other EU member states. In France, for instance, the extreme right party is scoring around 30% of voters at each elections for the last couple of years now. So there is a fundamentally different situation in Germany with respect to other EU member states. Now that the situation is evolving in Germany, my opinion and what I think is that despite the fact that extreme rights political parties may use and may gain or may get profit from that situation, they will not get a huge profit of it because they are still not doing extremely high into the polls.
Professor Wang here in Beijing, we are observing from afar, but of course we also go into the country to check the realities. There are certain people claim, at least in some of the relatively rich European countries, talking about the middle class losing this battle as a result of some of the recent changes. Do you think that's what is happening right now? And also, the question I related to Ms. Pascouau a little bit earlier about the history, its influence now, and the other way around.
Well, I'm not so pessimistic about this situation. Things, it's nothing new under the sun. So this happened before in history. But the key challenge is to the future, the confidence about the future. And most of the Europeans now feel so many challenges after crisis and crisis. But this crisis is different with the Euro crisis and Ukraine crisis, because this crisis happened inside of the country, of the people. And it's a challenge to the values about liberty, equality, and fraternity. So I think the policy is to resume the confidence about the future, that the Chancellor Merkel that needs lots of things to do, because over the crisis, Germany take the leading role. But now, Germany is the victims of the crisis. We will worry about that Germany and the European Union in the future more inward-looking. They cannot take the responsibility for global governance to play a leading role in climate change and other issues. So this is about the confidence of the future.